What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. I'm Brian Leachy. Welcome back to part 2 of understanding keys. That's right, I said part 2. That means if you're at this video and you haven't seen this video, you gotta go back and watch it, dude. It is absolutely loaded with essential information that you are going to need in order to understand what we're gonna go over in this video. Now, in this video, we are going to dive real deep into the concepts that we went over in the previous video. And using these concepts, we are going to get our hands on the guitar, and I guarantee you that by the end of this video, if my roommates don't come home and interrupt me, you will have a much greater understanding of how to navigate your fretboard. That's the goal. I just want music to be easy for you. I want guitar navigation to be easy for you. I want it to be easy for me. So without further ado, let's just continue from where we left off in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, please go back to that video. I'll link it up here in the description. And if you find this content valuable, please consider liking and subscribing and hitting that bell, and this way you'll know when I'm dropping more content. I know, I gotta be more frequent about it, but life happens, I'm sorry. But I love you guys and I thank you for sticking with me. Let's get to it. All right, now, if you really want to be a lazy bones about it, I'll do a quick recap about what we did in the last video. That way I can catch you up to speed. Last time on Brian Ball Z, we talked about how any instrument that you play that can play music notes that isn't a percussion instrument gives you access to 12 music notes, and they repeat going from low pitches to high pitches. We talked about natural notes, notes which are named by letters of the alphabet. We talked about sharp notes, which are the notes in between the natural notes when you go up by a half step. We also talked about flat notes, which are the notes in between the natural notes when you go down by a half step. We also discussed that even though there are 12 music notes, unless you're playing some crazy jazzy, progressive, metal, orchestral, like crazy song where you need every single note, at a beginner level, you're not gonna really use every single note right away. You just need to understand the most musical sounding ones. Then we went on to talk about what a key is in music. And in music, a key is just a family or a group of related notes that sound musical and nice together. They sound nice when you interchange them and combine them and flip and flop them. They don't just sound like random noise. And all these notes that are in the same key, the same family, revolve around sounding good with one specific root note, a main note that everything else revolves around. We also talked about what a scale is. It's basically the list of notes that are a part of the key, aka the family members. So a key is the whole family and the scale is the members of that family. Then we talked about, well, how do we find those musical notes amongst the 12 that are available to us? How do we pull out the ones that will sound the most musical? And I explained that every musician needs to know this special pattern, this special formula that's going to allow you to pull from the 12 the 7 notes that make the most musical sense at a beginner level. So what we do is we begin at a note. In this case, we're going to use C. And because we're starting on C, C becomes our root note. It's our note number 1. It's our main note. It is the note that every other note has to sound good with. Otherwise, it's considered out of key. So here's the formula you need to remember. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That's what these W's and H's mean. When you do this pattern and you find this distance between the notes, you are automatically going to be building a major key, a family of notes that sounds joyful and happy, a happy family of notes. Now, by starting on C and doing this whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half pattern, we pulled from that list of 12 notes, 7 notes that belong to the same family, to the same key. Those notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. When you have built a key and you've identified the notes within a key, notes that are part of the same family, you have built what I've heard called like a parameter of notes, like notes that you're not going to deviate from much unless you want to change the sound or the style or the flavor of what you're playing. But for the time being, at a fundamental and basic level, we're going to be limited to playing only these 7 notes across our instrument. This knowledge applies to violin, it applies to saxophone, flute, it applies to cello, guitar, piano, it applies to, it's music, it's not just guitar. So if you want to play guitar and you want to play piano, you can apply these concepts. It's all universal. So these 7 notes are the notes that we are limited to playing on our guitar. And now that you're all caught up, I have to do one of my least favorite things in the world. I have to erase my beautiful notes. All right, now, we're going to officially continue on from what the previous video left off on and move forward. So pay attention. Now, by starting on the note C and using the pattern whole, whole, half, whole half, we pulled out these 7 notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. These 7 notes are the C major scale. These are the notes that are part that build the key of C major, the family of C. These are all the members of the C family. So now these are the notes that we are limited to playing with. Anything else is either going to sound out of key or off and unpleasant to the ear, or if we add or take away something, we're going to change the flavor, the style of or the genre of the music that we're aiming to play. So we're just going to keep this really simple. So now that I have the 7 notes, where do I go from here? We need to identify the chords and the arpeggios in the key of C major. This way we know what chords to change to, how to construct chord progressions which allow us to create songs and melodies and different things to be creative with. It'll also help us to shred the guitar once we know where everything is. So how is this done? Well, these 7 notes are the root note to every one of our chords. So I'm gonna write them down here, and I'm gonna label them in a funny way using Roman numerals. I will explain why in a moment. We have chord number 1, chord number 2, chord number 3, chord number 4, chord number 5, chord number 6, and chord number 7. You might already notice that some of these are capital, some of these are lowercase. I did that on purpose. Now, how do we go about finding the chords and the arpeggios? Well, in previous videos, I talked about how chords are created when you take 3 or more notes and you play them simultaneously. I think it's this video here you can find that. But how do we know which notes to play? Very good question. We are about to locate the 7 chords in the key of C major. This is how it's done. Pay attention. We are going to begin at the first note in the key, which is our C, and we're going to try to find the first chord in the key. The way we do this is, now that we have the scale, we start at the first note, we're going to skip the second and go to the third, which gives us E. We're going to skip again and go to the 5th note, which gives us G. So now, by starting at 1 and skipping to 3 and 5, we have obtained the notes C, E, and G, and these are the 3 notes we're going to play at the same time. I happen to have a piano in reach right here, so I'm just going to use the piano as the example. For now, I will get us on the guitar, I promise. Now, if I take the notes C, E, and G, and I play them at the same time, I get a pretty happy sound there. Kind of sounds like you got a prize. In previous videos, I've talked about how a happy sounding chord or arpeggio is called a major chord. Thusly, when you take C, E, and G, combine them together, and they create a happy emotion, you have effectively created a C major chord. Now, if you have your guitar, you would play the C major chord at this moment in time. Go ahead. Good job! So it's safe to say that the first chord in the key of C major is C major. Easy. Doesn't that make sense? That the first chord in the key of C major is C major, the number 1 chord. So now, how do we find the second chord in the key of C major? Well, we're gonna move over to D, all right? And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna skip, and we're gonna skip again. Can you name the 3 notes that we get? I'm just kidding. This gives us the notes D, F, and A. If I play the notes D, F, and A, and I play them at the same time, that's not as happy sounding and joyful sounding, especially if I add some bass. It's a much darker sounding chord. D, F, and A do not create a major chord. So don't go playing your D chord right now, because the D chord is not going to be in the key of C major. Instead, because it sounds dark and sad, you're going to play a D minor chord instead. That's right, D, F, and A create a D minor. So I have to put a little M next to the D, that way everyone I'm playing with knows to play a D minor. So what this tells us is that the chords C major and D minor will sound nice in a chord progression if you were to play them one after another after a little bit of a strumming pattern. No. So what we're now also discovering is that the chords are named by this bottom note. C is the name of the first chord, C major. We do not have to put like a capital M to indicate something that's major because major is kind of the norm, it's kind of the natural way of things. The second chord is D minor. All right, let's try to find the third chord. The third chord in the key of C major, we need to do E, we have to skip, we do G, and then we have to skip again, and we get B. Now, I'm sure you're looking at your guitar like, where's E, G, and B? Like, on my guitar. I'm gonna show you, don't worry. Now take a second and try to identify if this chord sounds major, happy, or minor, sad to you. I'm gonna take E, G, and B, and play them simultaneously and create a chord. How does that make you feel? Let me add some bass to this. Usually adding some bass helps out. Now when you separate notes, that's called an arpeggio, right? Notes at the same time are a chord. So what emotion did you get from E, G, and B being played at the same time, or even as an arpeggio? If you have tears in your eyes from the sadness of the E chord, then you are feeling the proper emotion, because the third chord in the key of C major is E minor. All you have to do is repeat this process for all of the chords going across, and you'll be able to identify all 7 chords that belong in the same key. So if I go to F and I skip, I'll get F, A, and C. F, A, C. So here it is as an arpeggio. And here it is as a chord. Take a second to feel the emotion that you get from that chord. So the fourth chord in the key of C major is F major. Now I can take these 4 chords and already begin to jam on them. Let's start with maybe playing a C. Then an F. D minor. E minor. Back to C. These 4 chords sound musically pleasant when you play them in a progression, one after another. Let's find the 5th chord. How do we do that? Well, you start at the 5th note, which is G, and you skip, which would be B, and then you skip again. If we were to continue the alphabet, right, obviously, because it keeps on going up, you would end up at D. So you have G, B, and D. If I play G, B, and D at the same time, let's do that again. G, B, D. Does that feel like you won a prize, or does that feel like a sad, rainy day? If you guessed that the 5th chord in the key of C is G major, then you'd be correct. Hence, we do not have to put a little M here, we just leave it as it is. Let's find the 6th chord / arpeggio in the key of C major. We're gonna start with A, we're gonna skip and skip, and that gives us the notes A, C, and E. If I play the notes A, C, and E at the same time and turn them into a chord, that is the sound I get. I'm gonna add some bass, maybe a little more bass, even more bass. Ask yourself what emotion you feel you get from hearing that combination of notes. That's one of my favorites. Let's try an arpeggio. That's right. Right off the bat, I just feel that minor, sad, dark, dramatic epicness. Very emotional. The 6th chord in the key of C major, which is A minor. All right, you made it this far. Let's do the last and final chord. You ready? If I go to B and I skip, I will get B, D, and F. Now, a kind of cheaty way that you could do this is you could say, oh, every row just goes in alphabetical order musically. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. It just kind of repeats. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. it just repeats. That's another way of looking at music in an easy way. If the way I'm doing it is too tricky, just go across the alphabet. Just do the first skips and then go straight across the ABCs. Now the notes B, D, and F sound like that. Let's play them simultaneously as a chord. And now let's play them as an arpeggio. We're gonna add some bass. Now, what emotion do you gain from that chord? Is it major? Is it minor? If you said minor, you'd be partially correct, because this chord is neither major nor is it minor. This chord is something called a diminished chord. A diminished chord is indicated with a little degrees symbol right here. There's all different types of diminished chords. There's all different types of major and minor chords as well, but this is a basic understanding. I will write that word down so that way you can remember it. Diminished. And there you have it, a B diminished. We have discovered all 7 chords in the key of C major. Woo! You have C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. You might notice that now my Roman numerals make some sense. The major chords are indicated with a capital Roman numeral. The minor chords are indicated with a lowercase Roman numeral. Now here's another kind of pattern you need to remember. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. There's got to be some way that you need to lock that into your mind, okay? So we started with 12 music notes. We did whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half in order to find the ones that are the most musical, the ones that are in the same key. We then skipped along them to then build all the chords and arpeggios in the key, and now you can use these chords to create chord progressions and mix and match. I can fully now use my creativity and just, the piano's a little bit scrunched up here, but I can now use my creative mind to choose if I want to do a few C's, some F's, A minor, G, D minor, E, F, A minor, B diminished, C. I played simple quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then change 2, 3, 4. And now you'll be able to communicate with other musicians. When someone is in a group and they're like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be in the key of C major. We're gonna play a 1, 4, 6, 5 in the key of C major. Everybody ready? Everybody will then automatically know to play a 1, a 4, a 6, and a 5. What are the chords attached to those numerals? You're gonna play a C, an F, an A minor, and a G. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna play a 1, 4, 6, 5 in the key of C major. Everybody, a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, 2, 3, 4. And everybody knows to play C, F, A minor, G. Now, it's up to you. You can pick and choose which chords you want to play in whatever order you want to play them. It's up to you. I can't, at this point, tell you what to do. Unless you want a video on 100 different chord progressions, I can do that for you guys. Drop it in the comments if you want a video on a bunch of different chord progressions, and I'll even do a video on strumming patterns for you as well. I've had other people ask me, well, Brian, how come I can't play a D major? I love D major. D major is one of the first chords I ever learned. Well, let's take it this way. I have a D, I have an F, and I have an A. The D, the F, and the A create D minor. If I want to create a D major, I have to take the F, this note, the middle note, and I have to bring it up by 1/2 step. Now it sounds happy. But if I bring F up by 1/2 step, I am now at the note F sharp. Is F sharp in our family? No. Is F sharp in the key? No. They're not. They're not in the family. Get out of here! What are you doing at the family reunion? You're eating my burger! F sharp does not belong in the key of C major. At least not yet. When it comes to being more advanced and getting creative with certain things, you can add an F sharp, you can add things, you can take away things. This is just the basic idea. So now you officially know how to build a key. okay? You know the theory, the knowledge, the science behind how to find the right notes, how to find the most musical notes that play well together, that sound nice together, and limit yourself to those notes until you're ready to explore other branches, distant relatives of the family, and you know how to skip along the scale in order to stack upon these notes to create chords and arpeggios. You now have 7 different chords and arpeggios that you can choose from to be creative with and create your own progressions. That's when you take several chords and you play them one after another in order to create a song structure, an arrangement, a melody. All right, now you guys just learned a lot, and I have one question. Are your minds blown right now? Absolute enlightenment? How does it feel to achieve ascension of the mind? We are now gonna apply the knowledge you just learned to the guitar. So grab that instrument, strap up, turn on your amps, turn up all the volumes, and let's get to it. Alrighty guys, so this is how it's gonna work. If we were to use our basic open chords, right? We discovered that we have the chords C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, back to C. All these 7 chords belong to the same family. They all sound nice when you interchange them. I can play a C, an A minor, a D minor, a G, an E minor, an A minor, an F, G again, and a C. I can play them in any order. I could do that B diminished. The diminished chord, it builds tension. Diminished rhymes with unfinished, right? So if I were to play C, G, A minor, and just end on a B diminished, it would feel weird, right? It's like, it's kind of unfinished. It begs for resolution. It begs to be resolved. So if I go here, I need to go to a different chord from there. Right? So that's what a diminished chord does. But now, we want to learn how to go across our guitar. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use a couple different shapes here, okay? The first shape we're gonna reference is the C shape. So when you play a C chord, you would usually default to this shape, right? This shape that you're making with your fingers, this arrangement of diagonal notes, is usually referred to as the C shape. We're also gonna use an A shape, which is like this or like this. You know, I prefer it this way because the pinky is smaller and it fits in there. And also when you make a fist and if you squeeze really hard, these 3 fingers squeeze harder than the first finger, so you get a better scrunch on the notes. We're also going to try to focus on the A minor shape. Okay, and we're going to end up turning these into bar chords. We're also going to do a C minor shape, which I can't fit here at the moment, but I'm going to show it to you as we go across, okay? Now, for the sake of this demonstration, we're no longer going to play in the key of C major because I need some space to shred. So we're going to take the C chord, right, which we discussed being our first chord in the family in the key of C. We're going to move it over a whole step. That's 1, 2 frets higher, okay? And now I can't just move these 3 up and then call it a different chord because a C chord consists of C, the 3rd fret, 5th string, E, the 2nd fret, 5th string, G. The way our guitar is tuned, G is open. It's the way our guitar is tuned. The 3rd string is G. C, E, and G are necessary for my C chord to be complete. Then I have another C on my 2nd string, 1st fret, and then I have another E on the open. So G and E are open. this G and this E are a part of the chord. So if I move everything over, those two notes must also come because they are part of the shape. They're part of the chord. But then I have to go like this. And it's not to say that this isn't an impossible chord, because I'm doing it. I just took the C chord, right? Just realized I had a piece of tape on my thumb. So I have a C chord here, including G and E, which are open strings, right? And I need to move everything over to create a new key. So I'm gonna play in the key of D major instead of C major. If C is here, this is C sharp and this is D. I'm gonna use the C shape, right? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this into an arpeggio shape. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this. Pinky on 5 of the 5th string, ring on 4 of the 4th string, pointer on 2 of the 3rd string, middle on 3 of the 2nd string, pointer on 2 of the 1st string. And I'm gonna add this 5 on the 1st string. Ah, that sounds pretty cool. Now, what I'm effectively playing is D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A. I didn't even know I can go that high. D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, right? All I did was I took the C shape and moved it over, and I'm using different fingers so I could access those zeros that I brought up. Now what I'm doing, I'm also sweeping this. What I'm doing is I'm planting the notes. So with my right hand, I'm actually just going straight down. The strings. When I go to the 5th fret here, I'm also picking up. Once I've done that up pluck, I'm gonna do a pull off here. So it's, right? Now I can go up the note. I do an up strum, I wait to do a pull off, and then I continue up, backwards in the pattern. And then at this point, I'm gonna go back down. So I can continue. Down, 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 up, down. Now here's how this is gonna work. We need to build the key of D major. So here's D. How do we build a key? Well, Brian taught me that you start at a note and you go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Right? And then we learned, okay, now how do we find the chords? How do we know what chords to play? Well, Brian taught me major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. The distance still applies. It's still major. You're gonna go whole, minor, half, major. So I just went whole, whole, half. Right? Whole, 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 half. Right? And then it's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So all the knowledge you learned in the key of C major has just been shifted over to be now D major. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. See, guitar music is easy. So we talked about taking the C shape and moving it over to create a D chord using the C shape. This shape creates a major ascension of note. The notes in this order create a happy, joyful sound. So if I take that same order and move it anywhere, they're all gonna be, that's a major shape. It's a happy sounding shape. Now if I take the A major chord and I move that, the same concept applies. Included in this A chord, you have A, which is the 0 of the 5th string, and you have an E, which is 0 of the 1st string. Those two notes, the 5th and the 1st string, are included in this chord. 5 strings. It's not just these 3 notes. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So if I move the shape over, I also have to take those zeros and move them with it. And now they become ones. So instead of being 0, 2, 2, 2, 0, it's 1, 3, 3, 3, 1. And now no longer am I playing an A major chord, I'm playing an A sharp major chord. Based on video part 1, if I move up a half step from A, I'm at an A sharp. I only moved up 1/2 step. If I move up again, this is a B major. Now I don't really like playing it this way. I'm going to use my one finger and squeeze this, all at the same time. Okay, this is now a B major. If I move over again, C major, C sharp, D. All right, here is our target chord. We are in the key of D major. I am now playing a D major chord using the A major shape, right? So we have the C shape. As well as the A shape. So all these notes go together. Crazy, right? Oh my goodness, it's already starting to come together. So you have the C shape and the A shape that are connected at the root note D. We're looking for D major right now. We're in the key of D major. So now if I take an A minor chord, it's the same concept. String 5 and string 1 are played, but I don't have to fret them. That doesn't mean they're not included in the chord, okay? They're included. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 strings are included in this chord. If I were to move this over, I can't just move these 3 notes. I have to take the zeros here with me. And the way I do that is I'm going to switch fingers. I'm going to put my middle finger on the 2nd string, my ring finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and my pinky on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Middle's on the 1st fret. So this is still A minor, I'm just using different fingers. But now my 1st finger is free, so I can move the zeros over to 1. And because I'm playing a minor shape and not a major shape, it's a minor shape, this is not an A sharp major anymore. A sharp minor. Depending on the key we're in, it could be a B flat minor too. So here's A minor, A sharp minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor. Okay, so the chord name changes, but the shape stays the same. Now, this brings me to a huge point, okay? A huge point I'm trying to make. This is going to be one of those light bulb moments. We are in the key of D major, meaning D is our home note. If I want to play D using the C shape, I put my pinky here, and I would go diagonally to the left this way. I can choose to make it a chord if I feel like it. It's just one way of voicing it. I could also go C and then end on an A-shaped D chord. Get a different voicing. Still a D chord. I'm still playing D, F sharp A, D, F sharp A. I'm still playing D's, F sharps, and A's, but I'm playing D, A, D, F sharp, A. I just flipped the order of the chords. It's called an inversion. We'll go over that another day. So we've found 2 ways of playing the first chord in the key of D major. How do we find the second chord in the key of D major? Well, we know how to do whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and we know major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, right? So if I'm at D major, I need to go up a whole step and make it minor. So now, E minor is the second chord in the key of D major. So because I took the A minor shape, and I moved it A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E minor, right? Now I can do D major using the A shape, and I can change to E minor, and it will sound nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. right? But now how do I play a minor arpeggio? See, I attached a D major arpeggio to a D chord. How do I attach an E minor arpeggio to an E minor? Here is a new shape. I'm still gonna consider this a C shape, but I'm gonna consider it a C minor shape. So, and then I'll give you another bit of theory. Check this out. A major chord is created by taking the first, the third, and the fifth, right? We did, when we were in the key of C earlier, we did 1, 3, and 5, and it created C major. But now, if I take 1, 3, 5, and I take the 3, and I flatten it by a half step, meaning I bring it down or bring it to the left by a half step, I now have a flat third, or in other words, a minor third. So that's how you turn a major chord into a minor chord, or a major arpeggio into a minor arpeggio. You take the third note, 1, 3, 5, and flatten it. Great. So when you play a major arpeggio, what you're doing is you're playing 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. So you're going up 2 octaves of the same notes, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. This would be D, F sharp A, D, F sharp A. If I do a C chord, I'm playing C, E, G, C, E, and then I add my pinky, G. C, E, G, C, E, G. That's all that is. It's the C, E, and G that we found earlier stacked upon each other in the exact order that we found it in the key, C, E, and G. But we're not doing the key of C right now. We moved it over to the key of D major. Now I have D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, right? If I wanted to make this D minor, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, I have to take the 1, the 3, and I have to flatten it. 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. I go back to 1. This is the major third, 1, 3. I have to flatten that. So now I get 1 flat third fifth, 1 flat third fifth, 1 flat third fifth, 1 flat third fifth. I take the third, the happy sound, and I bring it down a half step. Sounds more metal. But our D is supposed to be major. That's not the point. The D is major. D major is attached to this chord. The second chord in the key is E minor, so I move over a whole step, make it minor. What attaches to this chord? E minor. So instead of playing the C shape, remember I have to go 1, 3, I have to flatten the third, 5, then it's back to 1. Here's my major third, I'm gonna flatten it. So effectively, I get 7th fret, 5th string, 5th fret, 4th string, 4th fret, 3rd string, 5th fret, 2nd string, right? 3rd fret, 1st string, and then 7th fret, 1st string. That's gonna give me my 5, right? So I have 1, flat 3rd, 5th, 1, flat 3rd, 5th. So now we have 4 shapes. We have the C major shape and the C minor shape, which is the big long shape you just learned. We have the A major shape and the A minor shape, okay? And we now have learned how to connect them. So what ends up happening is you find your root, so in this case D, we're gonna do the C shape and make it major. We're gonna put our pinky on the root, and we now have that shape, which is connected to, at that very same root, we put our first finger, and we create an A-shaped bar chord, which is now a D major. Took the A shape and the A position, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, right? It's a D chord using the A shape. Now to find the second chord, we did a whole step up and then we made it minor. So by taking the A minor chord and moved it all the way up until we got to E. Now it's this. Now this E is our root. We put our pinky there and we play the minor shape. Now check this out. If one of my friends is playing D, E D minor. And we're just kind of playing those two chords, the 1 and the 2, the 1 and the 2 back and forth. I could be like, dun. Just a simple example. I just take those two shapes and I can use them to solo with. You don't even have to go straight up. You don't have to do that. You can go like halfway, then back, then some of the way, then back. You could just mess around in this shape. I'm just freestyling. And then you can go to the minor. You don't have to go in that order. You can go. You could take the shape and you can be like. So you don't have to use the whole. You don't have to play it in that order. You can mix and match. You now have a shape that you can wiggle around and mix the notes up a bit. So we have effectively found the first chord, D major, with the C arpeggio and its chord that it's attached to. It's like the body of the animal and the tail. And then you move a whole step and it's minor. Here's the body of our animal, of our chord, and the tail. Now we learned how to build a key, so we just did whole. What's next? Another whole. Then it goes from major, minor, minor. So the third chord is a minor. So we use the same A minor shaped chord as we used here. It's all the same. And the same minor arpeggio shape. Right? But now our root is F sharp here. Okay? So we have D. We have E minor. We have F sharp minor. And now what do? We go up a half step because we did whole, whole, half. Now it's a half step. And we go major, minor, minor, major. So this half step brings us to a G, and now it's a G major. The same shape, we go back to the C shape that we used over here. Oh, doesn't that sound musical? I just did a D major arpeggio up to a G major arpeggio. I went from a 1 to a 4. I could do that also in chord form. You could be like, you could do whatever you want. So we just did major, whole step, minor, whole step, minor, half step, major. We're going to do another whole step. And now this has to be major, right? So now we have major, minor, minor, major, major. Now this is an A, major. So we use the same C shape. So literally I could do the D, the F sharp, and the A, all major, and they'll sound great. Or I can end here. Because whatever I choose, whatever you choose. I effectively played a 1, a 4, and a 5. A 4. That's a classic chord progression. 1, 4, 5, 4, you know. So you do a D, a G, an A, a G. all major. This is the A shape, A shape, A shape, A shape. So we found the chords: D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major. Now we're gonna do another whole step. This is a B minor, right? Because from a whole step up from A is B. And I have to go major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. Now because it's minor, I have to use the A minor shape that we found down here, right? And we move it up here. Now this is my root, B. That's where I put my pinky. And I do the big old minor shape. So instead of doing this, I take 1, 3, I flatten it. 5, 1, 3, I flatten it. So that I get. Now this is gonna sound cool. If I did B minor to G major to D major, back up to A major, I'm creating a pretty cool little progression. Right? So I just played a 6, a 4, a 1, a 5. Right? So I've just found all the chords that belong together by doing whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I know major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, right? And now I have the arpeggios. There's only 2 shapes that we're worried about, the C shape and the C minor shape. C shape, C minor shape, C minor shape, C major shape, C major shape, C minor shape. Now this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go another whole step. Now we're at C sharp. We're going to do a diminished. Now a diminished is a minor, but instead of, we had a major, which is 1, 3, 5. We take the third, we flatten it. Now we have 1 flat third fifth. Aw, my cool color thing ran out of battery. That's okay. Anyway, the point is this. We have 1 flat third 5. Now we're going to take the 5 and flatten that. That becomes a diminished chord. So it's a minor chord with a flat fifth. And it goes like this. For this example, we're going to do the 16th fret, 5th string, pinky, middle finger, 14th fret, 4th string, pointer, 3rd string, 12th fret. I would use my middle finger for the 14th fret of the 2nd string, pointer finger on the 12th fret of the 1st string. And then last but not least, you could do ring or pinky on the 15th fret of the 1st string. So you get. Another way I might do it is I would go pinky, middle, pointer, ring, finger instead of middle. Pinky, middle, pointer, ring, pointer. Pinky, middle, pointer, ring, pointer, pinky. Pull off, ring, pointer, middle, pinky. And that would attach to this shape chord. So it's like a minor. This is 1, 5, 1, minor third, 5th. I take the 5 here and I flatten it down, which makes me have to go like this. Right? So this is this shape. In this case, it would be 16 on the 5th string with my pointer finger, 17 on the 4th string with my middle finger, 17 on the 2nd string with my ring finger, 18 on the 3rd string with my pinky. That chord is a C sharp diminished, which attaches to the shape, right? So we've effectively found all 7 of the chord positions. And a half step up gives you major again. Attached to these chords is a C-shaped arpeggio, be it a major or a minor. So D is major, which attaches to the C major shape. So it's a D major arpeggio using the C major shape. Then we have E minor, which attaches to the C minor shape. F sharp minor attaches to the same exact shape. Alright, then we have G major, which attaches to the C major shape again. We then have A major, which attaches to the C major shape again. So I'm playing an A major arpeggio using the C major shape. Then I have B minor, which attaches to the C minor shape. I then have a C sharp diminished, which attaches to the C sharp diminished shape. This is a diminished shape. Back to my D major. Right? This is the octave of where I started. And that chord attaches to another C major shape. Right? Now it depends on the chord progression that you and your band are playing that would determine which arpeggio you would use. If I were to decide that in our band we're gonna go 1, 6, 5, 4, and I was to play it like this. One might be inclined to solo over it using arpeggios like this. Or you could start on the octave or end on it, it doesn't matter. You could also go up one, down another, up another, down the other. There's no limit. You can go halfway. It doesn't matter. You can, now that you know the whole shape, you can decide if you want to. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. Like I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to show you that you can noodle, you can do as you please, right? That is one way of thinking about how to play chords and arpeggios in a key. You start with the 12 random notes. You pick any random note that you want to, depending on where your singer wants to sing, the range of your vocalist, or just where you feel comfortable playing, where all your shapes feel comfortable for you, where you think the song sounds the coolest, you know? Like, you might think something like, it's like too high or something, so you might be like, all right, everybody, let's bring it down. And you'd be like, oh, that sounds cooler there. So you would change keys. It doesn't matter, but the same knowledge applies, right? We easily went from the key of C and did major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, and just moved everything over to the key of D. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. If we wanted to move to the key of E, we would just go to E. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Ah, it's so high up here. Major. And the same knowledge would apply. It's all the same information just moves, depending on the key that you choose to play in. And that is it, my friends. That is one way of thinking about keys and how everything all works together. I showed you a little bit of information on the piano, on the board, on the guitar. Like, if you don't get it by now, like, just like go play bass. Just kidding. Because it's these few little concepts, these fundamental ideas that once you understand them and you apply them to your guitar, you just got to sit there and kind of identify and practice and like look for the little positions across the guitar's neck, look for the little notes on the piano. It applies universally across all instruments except for like percussion instruments. Sorry, my cool little blue RGB light just died. Look way less official now. But either way, I hope the information that you gained from this 2-part lesson has been extraordinarily valuable to you and you cherish it for the rest of your lives. This is stuff that you can't forget. This is stuff that you take with you along your whole musical journey. These are things I'm constantly exploring, and I've been playing for like 24 years. I still suck. You learned about the 12 notes. You learned about sharp and flats. You learned about enharmonic notes. You learned about whole steps, half steps. You learned how to build a key. You learned what a scale is. You learned where notes are on your guitar. You learn how to build chords. You learn how to build arpeggios. You learn where they all are located across your guitar. You learn how to connect the C major shape and the C minor shapes to your A major and your A minor chord shapes. And you learn how to find them. You learn how to mix and match them. You learn how to make progressions. This means that you can now compose and create your own ideas. You can convey your own emotions through music using the knowledge that you just gained from keys. And that's not where it ends. Like, there's infinite amounts of knowledge that I'm going to go over, but I think you got enough for now. If you found value in the content that you got between these 2 lessons, please consider liking and subscribing. That way I know you guys are out there, you're enjoying the content, and it inspires and motivates me to continue on my journey as a YouTuber. If there are topics that you want me to go over and discuss and you like the way that I deliver these messages compared to other sources, comment below. That way I know what you want to hear about, and I'm more than happy to make videos to accommodate. Until next time, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.